Let's just start with this. I mean, what you get today, about $270 million, a drop in the bucket, obviously, for the big Gateway project. But help explain to people, especially outside the New York metropolitan area, why this project is so important, why it needs the federal money it's getting, and how it benefits not just the Northeast, but maybe the whole country.
And you know, it's interesting that when you saw the president in a bipartisan infrastructure bill of $550 billion, there was a vision that came with it of accomplishing a task. And I think that the announcement today is part of the roughly $283 million that we received already for our roads, our bridges, and other items. But this project is really what we were thinking about when you thought about an infrastructure bill. New York City is the economic engine of the country. And the Northeast Corridor, if that bottleneck, it is going to stop the flow to so many areas of our country. And so we saw from Superstorm Sandy how the erosiveness of water, flooding, how it really harmed the tunnels. Now we're able to build them out, 2 tracks. This is a real win, jobs, union jobs. This is a real win for not only the city, but the region and America.
And you expect you'll get more eventually to help pay for this, right?
Yes, and that's the goal. We're looking, to receive more. Senator Schumer and the entire New Jersey, New York delegation, everyone was there. It was a moment when we saw government identifying a problem, properly funding the problem, and bringing solutions to a real problem that's going to help the country.
There is a, forgive me, there's another big problem obviously facing the country right now. We got another reminder of it last week in terms of issues with policing. I know you've spoken a little bit about the Tyre Nichols case. You've seen the video, and you approached this obviously as somebody who used to get, as you said, beaten by police, became a police captain, and now essentially oversee the police. Did you watch the full video?
Yes, I did. It was in sections, and I think it's right, as you stated. People sometimes see that Eric was a former police captain. I was asked to go into policing. I was assaulted by a police officer that traumatized me as a 15-year-old child, but it was not until Reverend Herbert Daughtry and the killing of Clifford Glover, 10-year-old shot by Officer Shea, another young man, Randolph Evans, Arthur Miller. There was a series of these incidents that civil rights leaders came to me and said, go inside policing, fight from within. I did that. I followed that. But that is the origin of how I got involved. When I saw the videos, there were several aspects that resonated with me. First, we have to be very careful on how we modify police practices, because there are bad guys out there that enjoy taking away resources from police officers and dividing our communities. And we can't fall into that trap. We have to be extremely strategic to continue to stop some of the harmful acts that dangerous people are doing. But at the same time, police must reach the level of professionalism that we expect of them.
I know you said the other day that there's a mindset issue with some of these officers, that some of them are cut out for certain kind of policing, others for other kind of policing.
Right.
And what you saw in that video are the guys that don't have the right mindset, in essence.
No, without a doubt. And we must break it down into layers. You are trained with the basic needs of a law enforcement officer, and everyone should have those basic needs. It doesn't mean that you could do some of the strategic functions. We call it emergency service unit. Those are our highly trained officers, or aviation. Those are different skills. We sometimes believe just because a person is a police officer that they can do every job within law enforcement. But then there are those that do not have the basic aptitude, discipline, and needs. That's what we saw on full display during the assault in Memphis. They don't have the basic aptitude. They seem too comfortable in carrying out the actions. No one was there stopping each other from the actions. That was alarming and troubling to me more than anything.
I mean, you watch this as somebody who's been on both ends of that confrontation.
Yes.
When you saw it, what kinds of recollections or thoughts did it trigger in you?
Several. I was around when you saw the shooting of Doris Munn. I was around when we saw the shooting of Zongo. We did 40-something shots that was shot at Diallo. And then not only around as a police officer, but also around as a civil rights activist, as I stated some of the cases. And I was looking at the video and saying, okay, who is going to step in and say stop? No one did that. That is a complete violation of what law enforcement stands for. And I'm a strong believer. Public safety and justice, we can live together, and there are far too many officers who are carrying out that job every day. Officer Mora and Rivera assassinated so early in their career. Every day, officers, men and women, are putting on that uniform and they're standing in harm's way. We cannot demonize them from the actions of those who have betrayed the shield and their profession.
And how worried do you get about the ability to recruit new officers whenever something like this comes up?
And that's a great question. I say all the time, I find it amazing that when we tell people that we're not getting the right medical care, we go out and recruit young minds, black and brown community, to become doctors. If we want better education, we recruit to become teachers and instructors. The only place that we don't go into communities and say we must bring our brightest in is law enforcement. We say just the opposite. There's an anti-police campaign out there of saying, don't be an Uncle Tom, don't be a sellout, don't join the police department. No, we should have every sorority, fraternity, every church, every civic group, NAACP, Urban League. Let's find our best and our brightest and say public protection is crucial to our communities and it must be done right. So we should be part of the campaign of the policing we want it to look like.
I know one of the issues you've been addressing here in the city in recent days, and that you've actually called for the president to take action on, is the fate of asylum seekers and migrants who've been sent here to New York. I got a few questions on that. First of all, have you had a chance in recent days or even today to discuss that issue with the president?
Yes, the president gave me an opportunity to have a brief conversation with him about the asylum seekers. We're going to do a follow-up because he too understands that the American dream should not turn into a nightmare, and the only way we could do that is proper coordination. And I'm going to continue to speak on behalf of those who are pursuing the American dream. All of us, no matter who we all came from somewhere. And there's a reason the Statue of Liberty sits in our harbor, because for 400 years we have welcomed people to the city. But the nation must deal with a national problem. So
you did talk to him today about it specifically?
Yes, we did.
What do you tell him? What's he doing right? What's he doing wrong about this?
Well, number one, he's continuously pushing the Republicans to state we need a comprehensive immigration reform. That is the heart of the problem. That is the fire prevention. What we're not getting right is the fire right now. When my house is burning, I like to say, don't tell me about fire prevention tactics. We got to put out the fire. The fire is the overproliferation of migrants that are coming to cities like Chicago, New York, Houston, El Paso. It's just not right. One city and cities should not be holding a national problem. We need a decompression strategy. We need to allow these young men to be able to work and women be able to work, which we're not allowing them to do. It's unimaginable. For 6 months, we're telling 18 to 24-year-olds, don't do anything. I know it's maybe hard for us to believe, but you remember what it was like being 18 to 24, and you can't do anything? And so we know we need to expedite that. We need to make sure we allow them to pursue the American dream.
One of the things I know you've called for him to do is appoint some kind of a national czar.
Yes, yes.
What would that person do? How would that help?
Great question, because we know that the vice president has an awesome responsibility of not only dealing with the migrant issue, but so many other issues. But we need someone specifically assigned to the decompression strategy, so that we're not having governors on both sides of the aisle sending them to certain cities. If we do a proper decompression strategy, then all of the country would absorb a smaller amount, and we won't look like what we're doing now. Over 47,000 migrants are here in our city, need care, when we're already dealing with a very real issue after the pandemic hit this city and country.
You mentioned the vice president in the works. Has she ever talked to you about this stuff?
We had a brief conversation, but no in-depth conversation. We have been dealing with the White House personnel on this issue.
So homeless advocates here in the city are saying the best way to deal with this influx of asylum seekers would be to move New Yorkers in shelters into permanent housing and allow those asylum seekers to then go into homeless shelters. I'm sure you've heard this proposal.
Exactly.
What do you make of it?
Exactly. And see, this is what I learned about a lot of people that are not willing to face the crisis you have in front of you. Anyone could talk about long-term idealistic things. Let's not have so much idealism we don't have realism. The realism is the fact that you have to build this housing they're talking about. We have a housing shortage, and we have to build this housing. So that's fine. Let's long-term, we want everyone to receive a home, but it's going to take years to build the home they're talking about. What do we do right now? No one wants to deal with right now. I'm a mayor of one of the largest cities on the globe. I must deal with right now. And right now, we have to give people housing. And that's what we have done. We have successfully allowed over 11,000 children to be educated, over 47,000 people to come into our city, food, shelter, clothing, medical care, all the things that you need. I made a commitment. No child is going to sleep on the streets of this city, and we've lived up to that commitment. Some are telling us, leave the migrants in our hotels, males, single adult males. If they want children sleeping in the street, that is the difference between them and me. Children won't sleep in the street. Single adult males will go into congregate shelter settings, but they will be treated with the dignity that we've given everyone.
One of the concerns that some of those that are being removed from hotels and sent to Brooklyn have is the idea that there's 1,000 cots essentially in one big area. Mm-hmm. Was that a mistake to do it that way?
No, it wasn't. It was smart that we pivot and strategically move. We have been stating for months we are running out of room. And then when we ran out of room, we had to pivot and shift. And we want to thank the state. The state, this is state land. We told the governor, this is what we need. She became a partner. She helped us. The congressional delegation, the New York delegation, they were able to put in the omnibus bill over $800 million. We have $8 million from FEMA to assist us in what we need right now. It is easy to sit in the bleachers and call the plays. I'm on the field, and you better be ready to handle the influx. And we don't know what's going to happen if the border goes back to the influx that we've witnessed. We must be prepared. I don't have an option of not being prepared. This is a smart move by my administration. We freed up the hotel so children and families could be in the hotels. We moved the single adult males to a congregate shelter setting, which, mind you, we have everyday New Yorkers in congregate settings. We're treating everyone equally in this city.
And to those men who have held out at that hotel in Midtown, what would you say to them?
They didn't hold out. You had a group of advocates and organizations that went to the location and tried to aggravate the situation. When I heard that there was no heat, no water, no bathroom facilities, I do what I always do. I went on the ground, just as I went on the ground in El Paso. And when I saw those young men there, there's only one thing they said: thank you, we want to work. They were not complaining about sleeping on a cot because many of them spent 5 months going through the jungle. They were not complaining about the food. They were not complaining about how warm it was, because it was warm. And so those who are not the individuals who are actually impacted, they're creating a narrative that's false. Their narrative is, even although we're running out of hotel spaces for children and families, that we should allow children and families to sleep on the street. That is not my narrative. I'm going to move people accordingly and make sure we always have a place for children and families.
Actually, it's an interesting point. You say you went to that spot, you've been to El Paso to see where they cross over. Have you given any thought to going to Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Venezuela? Well, most can't get into Venezuela right now, but those countries where they're coming from, to better understand and comprehend why it is they have to come at all.
And that is the role of the person solely assigned to this issue. They need to map out that plan with all of those countries, including Venezuela, all of those countries, to look at the destabilization that's taking place in those countries. That must be part of our overall plan of action, as well as the decompression strategy that is going to happen in our country. If we don't do that, then we're really allowing the sink to overflow. We have to turn off the source of the flow that we're seeing.
Can I ask you a few about the president specifically? You like to call yourself during the campaign the Biden of Brooklyn.
Yes.
You've been in office now about a year. You've been dealing with Washington in that role for about a year. How do you think the president's doing?
Oh, I think he's doing a great job. I like him not only personally as a person, but I think as a leader. He is, as they stated today, Amtrak Joe. There's something special when you commute to and from the Senate on the Amtrak. Just an everyday, plain talking American. And he really, I think, embodies the American spirit and the American dream. Working class people, as I said in my State of the State, I have a working class people agenda, and he does that. And today's announcement is reflective of that. Union jobs, transportation, infrastructure, these bread and butter issues. I'm happy, and I think America's a better place because what he's doing. And we're going to disagree on things. Friends do disagree, but we're not disagreeable.
Should he run for re-election?
Heck yes. Look at the field on the other side. You have to get on your knees every day and say, God, don't let us go backwards. He's moving us forward. He cycled us through COVID. He cycled us through monkeypox. He's cycling us through the economic challenges. The guy is just leading. He's leading from the front. And having him for 4 more years is going to be a blessing to this country. We're going to keep moving in the right direction.
And why do you think so many Democrats say publicly, privately to pollsters, I don't want him to run again?
Every Democrat I speak with is saying they believe that he's moving us in the right direction, and he's sharp as attack. When I speak with him, I'm seeing his energy is there. And you know what? We can only pray that at his age, that we're still as sharp, movable as he is. He's a blessing to older Americans on how you can continue to contribute to the greatness of the country. He's a symbol of the resiliency of this country, and I'm proud to have him as the president of the United States. And when I'm around him, I still feel that energy. I feel that excitement. And my mother used to say, "Look a man in the eye, and you'll know who they actually are." And when I look him in his eye, he is red, white, and blue all the way, and that's what we need.
You're writing the speeches for him. Just finally, there's an ongoing push among Democrats to sort of where to hold the convention in 2024. How aggressively are you pushing for New York to host it?
I thought they already picked New York. They didn't pick New York yet?
Not yet, as far as I know.
Think about it. New York is representative of what the party is going after. We're losing our Asian American voters. We're losing our Latino voting base. We have to be a clarity of message, public safety, jobs, health care, housing, right here in the city. This is one of the largest Latino population, largest AAPI community, working class union town. This is where we need to focus on. New York, we know how to hold events. We have some of the best infrastructure that's needed, and we put our best foot forward. And now it's up to the president and his team to decide. They cannot lose by going with New York. Don't bet against New York.
And one of the things I get asked as a political correspondent, I'm sure you get asked as a New York politician, the George Santos situation. Today he announces he's not going to serve on committees anymore, at least while he's still under investigation. What do you make of that situation?
Really disheartening, and I think that he should receive some form of emotional help. It's clear that something is just not right. I personally believe he should resign, but I'm a big believer the voters must make the determination, or the internal infrastructure that will carry out the investigations will determine if he's suitable to continue to sit with his colleagues. But it's really troubling just to see this unravel over and over again.
You've been generous with your time, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.